A couple weeks ago, I was visiting my friend Randy. Randy down in Lancaster, and Randy is a Mennonite. But Randy is kind of a cosmopolitan Mennonite. He's gay, and when I first met him, he was living in a high-rise condo, very modern condo in San Francisco. And he became one of my closest friends over seminary. For a Mennonite, he's a tech. He does tech as his work, and he day trades stocks and all these sorts of things. You wouldn't quite imagine when you first hear Mennonite. But he and I travel also. He travels internationally all the time. We traveled together to Turkey. And in Turkey, we were with a group, and everywhere we went, we were studying Sufis, and everywhere we went, we were welcomed with this great banquet table. And it was the same stuff on every table. It was this tart cherry jam, and feta cheese, and cucumbers, and hard-boiled eggs, and Nutella. There was always Nutella, and a few other things. But it was just a banquet of a spread. And when we returned to school, to our seminary, Randy was thinking about that, pondering that welcome that we received, and also thinking about his heritage from his religious tradition of hospitality, and wanting to create some more hospitality in the school. And we were looking around saying, hearing from the students, there wasn't enough community at the school. And so he just started baking a loaf of bread and hard-boiling a few eggs and bringing them to school every Tuesday before our chapel service. And within weeks, others were bringing jam and apples and other fruits, snacks and hummus. And the community was gathering, talking over food. And that is why we come to church, to get together and be community, we'll sit around the table with one another and share our lives. So welcome to our celebration of life once again. Let's rise in body or spirit and sing It's 360, Here We Have Gathered. Will you join me now in a time of meditation and prayer, followed by a moment of shared silence? Let your feet find the floor. Let your shoulders drop down and breathe deep. Take a moment to feel your hands. Feel your hands. Maybe even give your fingers a little wiggle. If you'd like, take a moment just to softly look down at them. As you gaze at your hands, think of all the things you've done with them since you woke up this morning, all the movements, perhaps stretching awake, turning on a faucet, rubbing your eyes, gathering the clothes, putting on shoes, opening doors, closing doors, driving, balancing, turning, brushing away a lock of hair. On this Labor Day weekend, in honor of labor, of both work and also of rest, let us meditate for a moment on hands. For hands that reach out in welcome, hands that invite, hands that shake, that embrace one another. We honor you. We thank you. For hands that dig into the soil, that turn the pitchfork, move the tractor, grow rows of corn, of sunflowers. We thank you. We honor you. For hands that tend to very small things, hands that sort the mail, sew the buttons, turn the pages of a library book, we honor you. We thank you. For hands that tend to great big things, hands that build airplanes, hands that write out peace contracts, hands that hold together the impossible, we honor you, we thank you. For hands that care for children, diaper after diaper, spoonful after spoonful, tear after tear, we honor you, we thank you. For hands that create, For the hands of artists and weavers and potters and hands that animate storytellers, we honor you, we thank you. And for hands that click at keyboards, hands that shuffle paper, hands that organize and deliver, we honor you, we thank you. For hands that are hurt or are tender, hands that have been injured or stressed, hands that have aged or changed, hands with arthritis and injury, but still remaining us, remaining part of us. We honor you. We thank you. For hands that hold on to another's for their last breath, for the work of dying and being with loss, and for hands at rest, hands held still and soft without grasping or holding on, we honor you. We thank you. And for hands such as yours and mine, flesh and bone, a design perfected through eons of time, we honor you. We thank you. Amen. May the silence we have shared continue to hold and to heal us all. Amen. May it be so.
Hello and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua. If you don't know me, I'm Dorothy Hoskins, the president of our congregation's Board of Trustees. We oftentimes have lay speakers in our services. It's usually at least once a month. So besides our ministerial staff, we have an ability to incorporate other voices directly from our congregation. I usually speak here on topics related to humanist philosophy or social justice, but today I'm sharing with you my heartfelt enthusiasm for the experiences of this congregational life and how it offers that to people of many different beliefs. I'm a minority Unitarian Universalist because I was raised in a UU tradition from about the age of 5. And I raised our own kids with Jeffrey in the UU tradition as well. The vast majority of UUs are not raised as UUs. Instead, they have come as youth or adults from other faith traditions or from no particular religious tradition. I've heard such UUs referred to as come-outers, but I prefer to refer to them as come-inners. We have this great welcoming tradition here at UUCC of starting off our services with the song, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Today, I'll offer a perspective on what those 3 verb phrases mean in the life of individual congregants and our whole congregation. It always bothered me a little bit that the song says to enter, and then later it says to come in. But I found a new resonance to the phrase recently by pondering why that song is such a good fit for UUCC. Let's take it bit by bit. First, the enter part. It's an invitation given as a command, and we can take it both ways in this month of invitation. Entering is the first act of courage for someone who has never been inside a UU church before. I've asked a few people how they came to the point of actually opening the door, literally and figuratively. Several said they knew someone who was a Unitarian Universalist that they liked and respected, and were thus attracted to check it out. Some said they wondered what this religious tradition offered after seeing some provocative sermon title announced in a street sign or in a news item. Some found UUism by using the online religious belief applications such as belief.net, and discovered that what they believe is best matched with Unitarian Universalism. So people self-select based on curiosity and openness, meaning that those who come to us are coming for very personal reasons. After deciding to try out UUism, these folks have to find a congregation. Thanks to the internet, they can quickly locate all the UU congregations within a reasonable driving distance, and that's generally how they decide to come and visit us. After wandering around a bit in Google Maps, they usually figure out where Cooley Road is relative to where they live. Then they check what time the service is by looking at our website. Then they find our sign, pull into our lot, and come through the door straight into the path of our friendly greeters. Entering has some congregational functions wrapped around it. Our greeters, the welcoming team at UUCC, are self-appointed ambassadors to the folks who come in. A greeter has to be a friendly, outgoing person who likes to meet new people and touch base with all their friends and acquaintances. People on the welcoming team are committed to making the entering experience a user-friendly one by showing up a bit early to be ready with the programs and inserts and the songbooks on the seats. Not to mention the smell of good coffee brewing is usually wafting through the foyer. The entryway itself is providing some visual cues about what lies inside. Our program and event announcements and the brochures about welcoming congregations, UU history, and other topics give ideas about what we promote. The battery recycling and food pantry collections tell other stories about what our congregation finds worthy of support. Even before the greeters arrive, we have to produce what they will hand to the newcomer. I'm looking around for Bob. Gordon, where are you, Bob? Okay. The service program is designed each week by a volunteer member of the congregation, thoughtfully reflecting the theme of the month. So entering is also a communication function. Visitors can get a taste of what our church is about by reading the front cover statement. Then when they look at the service program, they get the idea of what to expect, although some of the terms may be new to them. On some Sundays, newcomers find in the program and the inserts some extra treats for the day, stories in the intergenerational service, the collection of food pantry goods by the children, which is always very charming, a designated offering to a local charity, or the invitation to the potluck. Looking beyond the greeters into our sanctuary, they see smiling people moving around, meeting and mingling. With luck, one of the ministers will be the first to approach them and strike up a conversation, but there are always folks at UUCC who make an effort to say hi to new faces. So now our new person has to find a spot to sit. Not a problem today. Perhaps they feel most comfortable at the back somewhere. And hopefully there are some open seats where they can settle and take things in before the service starts. When the service begins, they get the enter, rejoice, and come in invitation and song, often with a welcome, we're glad that you're here, or don't be afraid of some change. Have you ever thought about what it feels like to come here for the first time and hear our congregation lustily singing a welcoming song? Those of us who have been coming for a while are welcoming back our own, but as part of the singing, we are also making a place for the newcomer to join in. So here it is, the beginning of a new experience that the newcomer has decided to enter into. The enter, which is a verb of invitation, a command that they feel inside as a drive to find a home for their spirit, has been enacted. Now we'll come to the rejoice part. Quite a few people who became UUs after leaving other denominations or never having a regular religious organization in their lives have related this experience to me. It starts with being startled by our opening words, which are often funny, always heartwarming and thoughtful, something that they can find to relate to immediately. It's really disarming and frequently charming. Right off the bat, they are given a reason for why we all bother to assemble at this time and place. Then there are the different words to familiar hymns. This is not the doxology they know, or what they might have sung in their youth when dragged unwillingly to church. It has a different twist. The lack of overt God language often is obvious. I can almost feel what that's like for a newcomer. They don't find a doctrine, a dogma, or a creed, and they aren't being asked to support a specific theology, even in singing. The joys and concerns seems especially gratifying to many of us regulars. Can you imagine hearing such sharing among friends in public for the first time? Especially if the visitor has never been in a congregation which does this. It's not uncommon to hear someone speaking about larger issues in the world, wars, natural disasters, human rights, and environmental concerns, which give insight into the issues that are important to the congregation. Newcomers may find a reason to rejoice in the designated offering or the collection of goods for the food pantry as evidence of our commitment to helping our community and beyond. Even when those aren't occurring on a Sunday, the low-key way that we conduct the offering may be a relief in itself. Once again, it reinforces that we have a purpose in what we're doing collectively, and it shows that we are committed to supporting it. The fact that we sing the children out with a song of blessing demonstrates how even the youngest among us are communally valued and acknowledged. Let's not forget, in regards to the music, it's not just the different hymnal. It's the grace of music which fits the service and lifts us out of our ordinary mental state. It's music that winds its way into our hearts and enriches the message. It's music that enfolds us and brings us together. And even a newcomer can hear and feel how special it is. It's not an organ. It's not often Bach. But it is a powerful agent of meaning in the service. Our service typically continues with moving our collective consciousness through the practice of quieting our distractions, centering our attention in the here and now with meditation and our Spirit of Life song. For a visitor, I think that being invited to calm oneself and enter with others into a state of reflection would be a respite from daily stress and offer another reason to rejoice. Then usually the message part is not at all what they might have expected to hear in a sermon. Here they get the thoughts of free thinkers, poets, philosophers of many ages and traditions, artfully blended to make a chain of thoughts and ideas presented as food for the mind, the heart, and the spirit. If our speaker refers to any book that is sacred to a specific religious tradition, it is offered as context for the message, not as a dogma. Especially when our ministers are in the podium, the thematic message ties in our principles and guides us to be thoughtful, mindful, and open to contemplating the good and bad in life and human affairs. All our speakers strive to lift us out of the daily grind and bring out the greater good that we can aspire to for ourselves and humanity. It is life-affirming and not casting us in the roles of sinners who have to jump through theological hoops to be saved and worthy. From what I hear from comers in, this realization of how different the UU experience is constitutes one of the biggest sources of rejoicing, often giving newcomers a sudden sense of finding their home. That is a shift that sometimes occurs in their first experience at UUCC, or sometimes comes after a number of visits, but is a great lift to their spirits. Wow! Many people who are new to UU actually do feel a sense of exhilaration. They feel liberated. They think, is it possible that here I can actually be my real self and not some put-on Sunday face? Could this be a place where it's okay not to toe the line, to have doubts, to plain old refuse to go along with dogma? Could there be a home here for my rebellious thoughts, my yearning for spiritual adventure, a place to find like-minded people? It's elating to think that there could be a community, a family, a new home within the larger world where they are called on for the best their hearts and hands have to offer. And always, the closing circle of congregants literally brings us together, newcomers and old hands, promising to one another to return and share all these wonderful things again, and to think of each other and the action the world needs in between Sundays. Now they have entered and rejoice to have done so. But what about that third verbal command? Come in. They've entered already, so why be told to come in? It's not something that happens right away for everyone. But there's this tug, this seeking for the right connections, this urge to find a place and do something that comes over us here. Here we gather, and since prayer is not our focus, we turn to actions. Once someone has experienced the warmth of welcome and the invitation to provoke their heart and mind week after week, the coming in is finding one's own mission in the congregation. Eventually, the activities of the congregation sort themselves out for the newcomers. They see some work to be done and some needs in the world to be addressed with their funds, their energy, and their caring. Compassion needs an outlet, and some people have never had an opportunity until they have been in a congregation. A newcomer wants the things that we have enabled them to do, to work for the greater good, to strengthen the bonds of community, to express our determination to protect the natural world. We are offering to everyone who enters our doors ways to be meaningfully and mindfully engaged. When we march side by side, or we stand at the side of love, arm in arm at the gates of injustice, or when we quietly knit shawls for the ill and troubled, when we raise awareness of the damage to our earth and fellow creatures, when we visit those of us who can't get to church or who are ill or hurting, when we work one-on-one or collaborate with groups to assist people in the area who have needs, when we help our church children find their own path of spirit and offer classes about UUism for adults. In each of these actions, we're offering a way for any and all of us to come in. So let me say to each of you from my heart, come on in. Find your own work to do to spread this very unique religious tradition. Come on in. There is joyful work to be done by all of us together, centered on this gathering place. Come on in. Invite your friends to become part of it as we together embark on building a new, more welcoming church home. Come on in. Bring your children to be raised with open minds and hearts, empowered to take action to sustain and protect our interdependent web. Come on in. Invite yourself to the greater good of your being. Come on in to the power of being your true self among friends. Come on in to learn together and share the joyful work of this beloved community and make it your work too. Enter, rejoice, and come in. May it be so.
Be connected. Just a reminder of that interdependence we've been talking about all summer. And will you join me in saying our closing words? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Amen.
Join us for worship every Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua, a welcoming congregation. We are located at 3024 Cooley Road, 4 miles west of South Main Street, Canandaigua, just north of the intersection with Routes 5 and 20. Look for the blue signs just before the turn. Your comments about this program or questions about the church are welcome at 585-396-1370 or at our website www.canandaiguauu.org. Producer and editor Daniel Brigham.